Ladies and gentlemen, let's gaming.com video. Let's discuss a recent rumor that's popped up that Microsoft are indeed interested in acquiring AMD. So this rumor I heard about because someone posted it on the Red Gaming Tech Facebook. I won't mention his name for privacy reasons, obviously, but I hadn't actually heard about this, but it's popped up on Fudzilla. And they are citing industry sources who claim that Microsoft are, and I quote, seriously talking to AMD about buying them out. Now, we have heard of this before, that Microsoft, you know, and a lot of speculation that Microsoft were interested in AMD. Let's be totally blunt. Now, to begin with, AMD and Microsoft have worked together because, well, they technically produce the GPUs that are inside the Xbox 360, although back then it was ATI initially when they brokered the deal. And then, of course, AMD produced the CPU slash GPU slash, well, technically just the APU that's in the Xbox One, as well as the PlayStation 4 as well. And presumably, at least if rumours are true, the next Nintendo console, whatever that's called, let's just call it NX for the sake of this discussion. So, Microsoft that does acquire AMD, if you know those rumours are accurate, it will really influence the development of the next generation consoles, because let's face it, Microsoft will be releasing another Xbox, and I don't think it's going to be as a service, what many people originally assumed, but after the ridiculously negative reactions that Microsoft got, and I'm sure that many in the industry did take note of that people just don't want something as a service at the moment. People want to know that they are owning the games and so on, which means that, you know, it's going to require a good CPU, a good GPU and stuff. That's not to say that they won't augment that with the power of the cloud, but certainly local computing is not going anywhere for some time. So Microsoft purchasing AMD actually makes sense for a couple of reasons. One, AMD have some really good intellectual property. I won't list all of it, but for one, it has, of course, the GTN architecture, the upcoming Zen. It has, you know, Southern Islands. It's having a really good stake in high bandwidth memory. Plus, of course, various virtual reality technologies, which it's putting out. For example, a Liquid VR, plus FreeSync, plus various compute technologies. It's obviously kind of pushing towards servers, which would make sense because of Microsoft's well, server technologies as well. It also naturally extends to gaming with things such as TressFX. Now, if you were to logically think about that, Microsoft are also, well, promoting DirectX 12, right? AMD are doing really well with DirectX, and it's actually scoring rather well with things such as asynchronous compute. They've got a lot of developers who are saying, hey, you know what, yeah, kind of AMD are doing really well with this. The problem AMD have, to be totally honest, well, there's a couple. The first is that they just don't have enough cash behind them, and the second is that they don't have products in the CPU division which are as competitive as Intel. Now, that's not to say they don't have good products. They have some good APUs, but the future Zen derivative, for example, could even end up in the Surface, because we know that, to be totally blunt, Microsoft are probably pissed that they didn't get enough credit from the iPad, because, to be honest, you know, they've been showing tablet-based systems and all of this for some time, and then, you know, wrongly, Apple got a lot of the credit. So a future Zen-based derivative CPU appearing in a Surface could make sense. Supposedly, we will also not only be seeing an x86 version, but also an ARM version as well. Now, we did discuss just a couple of days ago how AMD are spinning off their GPU division into, of course, the Radeon Technology Group, and that's being head up by Raja Koduri. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. He did a lot of good stuff. He produced one of the first DirectX, is it 9? I think 9 GPUs in the market. It's either 9 or 8. I'm 90% certain it was 9. And watch how everyone corrects me and says it's 8. Well, the other day I covered it, so it makes sense. I got an I tried badge, right? So it could make sense. Possibly AMD could maybe sell off the GPU business. And then, you know, that company could work closely with AMD. Or maybe Microsoft could buy them whole hog. I'm not sure which I'd prefer. So the other possibility, if someone's going to buy them, you could see Apple, but I don't think they will, because it doesn't really benefit Apple at the moment. And it could also be, well, Intel. At least that's what some people are reporting. Once again, some industry sources are saying that Intel wants to gobble up AMD. Now, personally, I really dislike that, because yeah, that really doesn't do good things for us as consumers on the PC side of things. However, Intel don't really have a monopoly, at least in terms of the entire processor market share anymore. You might think to yourself, well, Intel, AMD, but you're forgetting Samsung. And they produce a crap ton of processors, Qualcomm, MediaTek. The world is changing really quickly. So Intel do need to do their thing to be competitive, and Intel's GPUs are certainly not as advanced as AMD's by any stretch of the imagination. If if AMD were to be purchased, I would prefer it to be Microsoft, or for Microsoft to go ahead and just put in a lot of investment into AMD. To be honest, if Microsoft were to invest a good substantial portion, maybe take partial ownership of the company, I'm just obviously throwing examples out here, I think it would really help AMD if they had a substantial cash injection. Their products are really good, but they're just behind, mostly because they just can't, even things such as advertising. That's another point. It's like, their products would even do better if they had more cash to put into marketing. It is that simple, unfortunately. And the fact of the matter is, without AMD, and by the way, I'm not bad-mouthing Nvidia either, because Nvidia have some really cool technology, but I want to keep the focus primarily on AMD in this video. Without AMD, the GPU market and the CPU market, to be totally honest, would be really freaking different. If you want an example of that, check out Intel and how they had to negotiate with AMD regarding x86-64 instructions. That's not to say that AMD didn't get something out of that, because they did, but it's just highlighting. And even this is something I said the other day, even when like the 9800, 9700s and X800s were competing versus Nvidia's GPUs, it was the same deal. It's like the market moved on quite substantially. And to be totally honest, where the hell would we be without Mantle? Because it's fair to say that without Mantle, DirectX 12 probably would have happened, because Microsoft would have made it happen at some point. But would it be how it is now? Would it be as advanced? I don't know, because even Microsoft have agreed that, yeah, we kind of used a lot of the code from from Mantle, and we just change it as required. And we all know that Vulkan, they've been frankly honest and said, yeah, it pretty much is the evolution of Mantle. It's just for multiple GPUs. So it's a bit of an interesting scenario. I personally would not like AMD to be bought. This is my own personal opinions that have no basis in necessarily reality. This was like my perfect scenario. I'd prefer Microsoft to put in a substantial cash investment into AMD, and for them to actually be kind of partners. How that would react, or how the market would react in reality, with the possibility, I mean, Sony would be like, okay, not sure what to do now, because let's say the PlayStation 5, what would they do then? Like, what chipsets would they use? Admittedly, the PS3 was using Nvidia, just for sake of argument, but, you know, would they go with Nvidia again? There was that whole, they weren't really the best of friends at one point as well. Anyway, it's a bit of a complex question, but hopefully you've enjoyed the video. But for now, I'm going to get going, so take care, and have a good night. Bye.